My name is Sarah Gavron, and I'm a British-based director of fiction films, feature length. I've directed a number of films, most recently Rocks, which is the story of teenage girls. Before that, I directed a period fiction film called Suffragette about the women who fought for the vote in the turn of the century. And before that, I directed a book adaptation of Monica Ali's Brick Lane about a Bangladeshi woman coming to live in England. The kind of films I direct are drama. They're often female focused, seen through the prism of women central characters. When I was growing up, I didn't see many films that were set around girls or girlhood or, anybody that was, they didn't put young girls at the center of the narrative. And now I have a teenage daughter, and I was seeing all these very lively, diverse young women on our streets, in our schools, on our buses. And I was like, where are their stories on the screen? When I was promoting Suffragette, I was talking to a lot of young women about what it was like to be a woman in 1912, 1913. And then I began to think, what's it like to be a young woman now? What are the pressures? What are the preoccupations? What does it feel like? What are you up against? So I wanted to really explore that for this generation. But I'm older and I'm not connected to teenage girls, so I wanted to make it in a very collaborative way where I really worked with young people to tell their own stories. Well, it began with a research process where I went into schools observing young people and talking to young women about their lives and their experiences. And then we invited them to workshops to talk as a research process and really just to explore their lives. What we discovered was that they often had really good talents. They were good at improvisation, they were acting, they were generous, they wanted to share their stories. Bookie Brackrae, who plays Rox, the main character, had been in those workshops from the very beginning, so we knew that we were working with her. We didn't cast the young boy in the same way. D'Angelo, who was the boy that played her brother, Emmanuel, and very quickly, him and Bookie formed this relationship that was sometimes a little bit tense and sometimes very friendly and sisterly and motherly. And, so it was very natural for them, actually. Huda Benyamina, who made Divines. I watched her film shortly before embarking on Rocks, and I thought the energy of that female friendship was hugely inspiring. In fact, the young cast also watched that film. We were trying to keep away a little bit from the tropes of teenage movies, which are often, boys and sex and drugs, and because those weren't necessarily the preoccupations of these young people. They were very invested in their female friendships at that stage. So I really wanted to draw out the power of female friendship and how it can be complex, but it also can be a massive support structure. And in a way, often, particularly for teenagers, it replaces the family and it becomes their found family. I decided very early on that we would only meet female cinematographers. So it was really, really predominantly female, but also importantly, it was quite young, the teams. So where possible, we worked with people from different communities that reflected the young people and in that part of London, which is East London. The desire was often on a film set, you get a lot of men, middle-aged men, and then you get a story and it could be not connected to the people behind the camera at all. And we wanted everybody to feel part of this and feel storytellers, because they are in lots of ways. A film is a real product of all the people who make it. And we wanted the young people in the film to look behind the camera and also think maybe they could be a producer, a director, a writer, a costume designer, a production designer, all those things that go on behind the camera that they could become involved with one day if they wanted to. We were trying to keep it very natural. We weren't kind of designing shots in a very designed way. We were really working around the performances. We didn't do a lot of takes, so they didn't have to repeat the actions, so we could get that kind of freshness of the performance. We wanted to reflect the reality of London schools. We responded to the young people we found, and those friendship groups have that mix. So we wanted to reflect that because that was a truth of today. And we also wanted to show how at home they have one culture and then in school they have another culture, and to show all the richness of their lives. We wanted to show the richness of the Somali home and the beauty of it in the colors and the textures. And we designed the beginning and end so that you're on a rooftop in London and you're also on a coast in Britain where you always feel the potential of the future, and the rooftop connects you in London to these very different worlds that live side by side. So they're looking at the city of London, which is where all the money is, and these big, impressive, sort of overbearing, macho buildings, and then they're having their time, this very female space on the roof.
They're not about that chicken.